Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video. Of course, that's why you're here. And this one is going to go over the Scarlet Witch Sigil, as it seems to be called. Now, just to put us in a bit of perspective and to give you a bit of an idea, we have not been given any info on this in the CCP, and this is a character that's kind of like mysterious. It's more so mysterious when you consider the fact that this character could or could not be associated with the upcoming Scarlet Witch show called WandaVision. So you kind of think, is it anything associated with that? And you're like, right. What is this character all about? It looks on the face of it a very just, well, I don't know, comic book-ish type of character that looks at more like the movie version. There's kind of loads of kind of influences here on the visual side of things, but nothing's really been mentioned about this. If you're unfamiliar, then if you watch a few past videos, I did explain about this, this was from a leaked Google Play thing. So it kind of went live for a moment and then got taken down. So whether or not Google messed up and they weren't meant to release anything, who knows? But yeah, this is what this kind of version here, you can see this version of Scarlet Witch is the one I think it's referring to. This one that's going to be in-game very, very soon. Whether or not it's December, I don't know. It's definitely not something that's been announced. It's definitely nothing I've got any kind of info on. So yeah, let's look at this. So we're going to do a little bit of comparison over with my OG version, my 5-star Scarlet Witch, and then also the abilities. You can check out the link in the description. MCOC Journals put together the synergies. And this here is what we're going to go over. Scarlet Witch Sigil. Don't know. I don't know what it's talking about. Is it something to do with a Summoner Sigil thing? I don't know. I think it may be a placeholder name rather than it being anything associated. Because if they had to do anything associated with Disney Plus and the WandaVision series, then I can imagine they wouldn't go into great detail. And we're going to have a quick overview of some of the abilities. There's going to be drawing a lot of comparisons between this version, which, by the way, the numbers with the amount of seconds, the percentages, and everything else is subject to confirmation, because at the moment there's nothing in the CCP, there's nothing Kabam have given, and there's nothing being confirmed by Kabam about this character. This is somewhat like left in the dark. So as I said, I will be kind of referring back to some of the compositions of creation, which is all about things like creation of buffs and also debuffs, because the character has utility, and that's the thing. The difference with the character is it has more interaction, but still retains the same kind of randomization for buffs occurring, and also how instability works. So yeah, let's go over it. Starting off with the signature ability, it looks like there's good interaction between Cosmic, Mystic, Tech, and Cosmic in general, and then Mutant skill opponents. It's good to have utility based on things like Petrify and Armor Breaks from champions like Tech ones and Mystic. More so, I think, for that, because a lot of regeneration is in Mystics, the same thing with Techs, and the same thing with Techs requiring the Armor Break debuff, especially going up against Iron Man Infinity War, Heimdall, to name but a few. A whole load more. You then going up against those Cosmic Mutant, where you've got Inflict Power Sting and as well Heal Block debuff, which is good. A lot of Tech champions get regeneration. So there we go. Good utility. It's going to be interesting how it scales. Now with Scarlet Witch, the OG version, how things scale is the percentages. 200 signature, I believe, gives you 85% of a chance on a crit to get a buff. Now with this one, it's very different. A lot of this is all about instability, which we will go in a little bit more about in a minute. The champion throws energy instead of physical, while not faded by non-damaging debuffs, max power when buff is nullified or expires on an opponent. You got Mystic Dispersion Masteries that reduce potency. I find that a bit weird, but you know, there's a lot of weird things associated with this character. Immune to all effects that modify regeneration rate, except poison. That's good. Base regeneration rate is set at 1% instead of the normal 100%. So we'll give an example. I think this, the version that I've got with the OG version is really potent. So you get a good amount of regen. So whether or not that's preset within the abilities. There's a lot of stuff in this champion, the OG version, that doesn't specify how long the buffs last for. Definitely you could guess with it. I don't know if it's 5 to 8 seconds or something. It's definitely not 2 seconds, which this is going to advertise this the other version. But But yeah, if we're talking about like health being 27,000, then 1% of that is, say, 2,700. But for the length of time that would run is obviously quite important. Like, if it's 2 seconds, then you're only going to... What's the point of that? That's like just over 5k health regeneration for this version that I'm talking about. So that's going to be something quite important. I don't think these things that say 2 seconds, I think they're just placeholder information and everything was subject to change. That would be very key for me, whether or not this champion will be any good. Chaos Surge. Activates Chaos Surge, granting both champions a chance per instability to gain 1 randomly selected buff. So I mean, small chance to grant all buffs. Well, yes, please. I'll have an unblockable regen, prowess, precision, fury, cruelty, and armor up. I'll have all that stuff. But, you know, here's a problem. You're giving it to the enemy. Is that what it's saying? The OG version reads differently on the abilities, because what you're doing is the enemy gets a chance to get a debuff and you get a chance to get a buff. So that's what it's saying there, if you're familiar with the champion, rather than it saying, oh yeah, both get them, both get the buffs with this new one. So I think this is where we need the ability straight from Kabam rather than this, in order to give full clarification on this matter. But still, there's some nice buffs. The OG version doesn't get unblockable. OG version does not get prowess. I don't think it's armor. No, it doesn't get armor up. So the other stuff it gets. So there's some fun stuff here. There's also a synergy that works in well with Scarlet Witch, the OG version, which is nice. If Scarlet Witch nullifies any armor up, fury, cruelty, prowess, or unblockable buffs, she gains her matching Chaos Surge buff, which, as you know, Chaos Surge. Granting both champions chance instability to gain 1 randomly selected buff. So nullification equals buff. But when you throw a special attack, you get a buff. So that could be cool. You could either get yourself a prowess buff and a fury buff, smash in an SP. Well, you could get a nullification, then smash in an SP2 and get yourself a fury buff at the same time, or whilst you're throwing it. I don't know how it's going to work. Would it be similar to the other version, the OG version? That's still yet to be known. But as well, looking at things like well-timed blocks have a chance to nullify a reality warp buff. So we need to find out what a reality warp buff is. It's going to be quite important. And instability, 6+ instability active, inflict degen on the enemy. So you can degen a good amount of damage. Doesn't say what kind of scalable amounts of damage that will be. If it's a lot, then that's good. That gives some extra extra depth to the damage dealing that this champion can do. Also with the SP2, which has some random effect we'll talk about in a minute, about it kind of throwing Cold Snap, Incinerate, Poison, and Rupture. Instability Overload, instability active, time expires. Active when this time expires, inflict degeneration. So maybe you've got to look at when instability overload is as to when you throw. Also, Wither reduces duration of buffs triggered while active. So Wither bad. That's the bad effect. So I don't know why you have a negative effect on you, but we'll have to see why that's so much of a thing. And it looks like that's from throwing a heavy attack. When you throw a heavy attack, consume 1 instability to inflict a degen debuff. That's good. Degen damage. Nice. Consume 1 instability to create a non-stacking power gain buff. And that's cool as well. Consume instability to inflict a non-stacking wither debuff, reducing duration of buffs triggered on the opponent. So that's good. But that looks like it affects you as well to a degree, because it reduces duration of buffs triggered while active. But is that to you or is it to them? If it's to them, good. That's kind of like a stagger. So I'm all for the Wither, which is a stagger. I mean, you could have just made it stagger, but, you know, who am I to question the overlords of a Kabam? On special activation, gain 1 indefinite instability. So that's good. Every time you do a special, you get an instability. So there's a lot more going on to this version of Scarlet Witch than it is to this version of Scarlet Witch. I don't know. I said it's so German. You know, Scarlet Witch, yeah, Scarlet Witch. She's a Witch, yeah, yeah. Meine Lieblings, yeah, das ist gut. Anyway, right, back to the Sigil version. Champion synergies interest me. I think it interests me more for what it does to the OG Scarlet Witch, because it's really nice sustainable thing here with Scarlet Witch. Increase buff duration by 20% and reduce debuff duration by 20%. So you hear that, girl? You're gonna get yourself more duration of buffs. But here's the thing. Does it showcase what the duration of buffs are? No. It doesn't say the timer. But here's the thing. If you're doing things like incursions and content where you need those special attack, those buffs lasting longer, then this could be a really nice little buffer to this champion. So I'd have to find some content she's kind of suited for, which is very difficult when I've got a lot of Act 6 to do, and most of the champions require so many levels of specification, and as well, some of them are like really punishing and crap that I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Even one of the lanes that I'm doing at the moment in 6.3 is kind of just stupid, but you know, there's a lot of stupid things still in Act 6.3. And a lot of the other content as well, which I don't know why haven't been addressed, but you know, we'll just reduce down the attack values and health pools. So we're like, okay. Anyway, right, moving on and back to focus. So copied buffs have an increased duration. Numbers aren't really, they're not really numbers at the moment. So it looks like whatever that could be. It could be quite sustainable to add in an increased duration, especially for some of the buffs that you get. So fortunately, mutant opponents have to, yeah, I guess that's going to be a permanent thing with having Scarlet Witch in your team, that she personally gets a buff, a synergy buff. So increased duration of all buffs, copied buffs. So yes, I guess that is the case, and that is confirmed. Every time you're able, you can copy the buffs from something else when you nullify it, if that's read correctly, especially from some of the abilities, which I'm just trying to like read back as well. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's Chaos Surge, I think is a factor to that, getting it back. Either way, we need the confirmed 100% information from Kabam, and as well we need to see this champion in action to get that full thought about what's going on. When you've got Vision on the team, when Chaos Surge activates, 0% chance to gain certain chance to get an aptitude buff increasing. Oh, that would be good. Vision, Age of Ultron on your team. Man, I'm interested. Landing heavy attacks on the opponent suffer heal block, granting a non-stacking fury, increasing attack rating by 1,000 for 15 seconds. Oh, hell yeah. I like that. And also like Dormammu Mephisto buffs. I like that. I like that a lot. That could be a really nice team together. Man. As well, if you kind of had Warlock on the team and get Vision with an extra buff, if he's kind of being hit by, robotic immunities, then that could be quite good. Special attacks wise, this looks interesting enough. Crushing Blow to get instability. You nullify a buff. That's good. So yeah, that could be great. I guess it all depends on the length of time. These 2 seconds are at the moment just a bit kind of like, well, it doesn't give you enough time to throw into a special attack. If you're chaining in and the buff comes up and it expires whilst you're kind of like preparing your combos and doing stuff, then you're literally just gonna have to go like, hit once, throw special, or at least trying to catch them when they're off guard whilst you quickly got a special. It's like, got the buff, throw the special. It's like it's too quick. So I need to find out 100% what the percentage, the amount of time there, that amount of seconds, whether or not it's definitely confirmed or not. In any case, moving on. And the SP2 is interesting because you do some random debuffs. So either going to be Cold Snap, Incinerate, Poison, or Rupture. So that's cool. It's good to see that. Good counter, I think, would be if you plan to get hit. Not that you would, then Ghost against this, of course, and anything that just like shrugs off any debuff effects. So yeah, we've got SP3. Scarlet Witch supercharges the body with Chaos Magic before releasing it Devastating Blast. Nullify 2 buffs. Each buff nullified this way increases this attack rating by X amount. Remove all instabilities, each inflicting a passive degen. So if you want to put a load of degen damage, then just have loads of instabilities and throw an SP3. I think it's as simple as that. Final thoughts on this Scarlet Witch, this new one, not the one that got on the screen at the moment. This is the OG version. My final thoughts on the character is that it does seem incredibly similar to the version I've got on screen now, but there are some other things that add to the elements of the utility, especially with the signature ability. The special attacks are pretty cool, and I would say it just goes a bit above and beyond what the delivery is for the OG version versus this version. The utility and the amount of seconds, that's really the two things to put in question. From the amount of signature stones you put on, so if you 200 signature this champion, what is the percentage increase then per instability to inflict? Like, is it going to be, you start off with 50%, you have to build it up to 100% by this adding those signatures? Also, the length of time that Petrify and Armor breaks on. Because at the end of the day, 2 seconds is nothing, especially for champions that rapidly regen and also rapidly gain power. And as well with Armor Break, because you need to put that on to suppress certain things with certain champions, especially if they gain armor quickly and other stuff like that. So those are still information I need to see. I really need to see that information in its truest form. Because at the moment this is, and shout out to MCOC Journal, but I know that a lot of this information will be subject to change. And also it won't be 100% correct until the champions put in. A lot of the information is just placeholder information. That's why Scarlet Witch Sigil just confuses the hell out of me, and I think it will confuse a lot of players. Either way, how the instability spending is going to be quite important to the character, it seems, but I think we all need more information. So those are just my assumptions there based on that. I need to see a lot more before really kind of getting an idea of if this is going to be better than the original. I mean, it looks like it's going to be better than the OG version, but it looks like there's a lot of potential sacrifice with the extent of seconds, and seconds will tick. Seconds will be very specific to throwing special attacks. If you are chaining into stuff and go, hey, I've got a specialist, I've got a buff. Oh, it expired. Oh, I'm throwing a special attack. Oh, it's not as potent. Those are going to be key things to keep in mind. And will the debuff, the degen damage, be the best debuff throwing mechanic to this champion? Either way, what are your thoughts on this character? Put it in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll put in the description where to look at this information if you're interested. And we'll probably cover some other leaks in the coming days. So yeah, check that out. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.